Uh-huh.
So in the background, you see this week's sketch came to me in a flash as I was thinking about the importance of deep listening, and it wasn't till I drew the sketch and started talking about it that I saw how much deeper it went than I originally thought. And my little moment of zen or whatever would be connected to the story I've told before about the two-dimensional surface of a yin yang symbol, and you're looking at it and you're realizing it encompasses all things, and then you realize you are in a position looking at it from a perspective, and if you just change your perspective and you rotate it, you realize it's a bowl, a three-dimensional bowl with stuff on the inside swirling around, and the yin yang is just the manifestation of that inner spirit, and that bowl has boundaries, that there's things acting on the bowl, but the bowl is sort of contained in all that stuff, and then you and the bowl are moving through time and space on some pathway for a four-dimensional assessment or a four-dimensional ecosystem that is reflected each moment in that yin yang and the people who see it. And then last week it was the idea that periodically you come in connection with someone, and what you can see are the two faces of our yin yangs looking at each other, and that connection between has qualities about it that describes the relationship between, and it allows information and spirit to go back and forth, and like any information channel has signal to noise ratio and elasticity and strength and adherence, and it allows us to make connections that endure, and create networks of action of like-minded people, and it's a choice of who you talk to and what you do with it. So I was thinking about that with respect to the True Story Circle and the idea of listening. Um, and I had sent a note to the True Storytelling Institute to challenge them to develop some material about the listening aspect of true storytelling, because you're telling a story to someone for some intention, even if it's, the whole universe itself is listening to the true story you're telling. And it's prepared to listen all the time, and it has infinite capacity to receive and absorb all that energy and let it go to the ends of the universe and back with, endless waves of feedback, affected by all the other things that are going on. So you get these living waves of spirit all the time. And that if you empty your bowl, there's now room for the universe to talk to you. And can you hear what it's saying? And how do you accept the gift of feedback of the universe giving you information about what may be? And so you get this cycle of telling and listening and thinking and resting and acting. So as I started thinking about listening, I said, what is true listening, or deep listening, or sacred listening? To me, the deep listening is almost there's an anomaly in there, because I just put out a course this week on Listening 101, which is sort of the traditional approach to active listening, how to be a good participant in a dialogue. To listen carefully, to give feedback, to adjust and clarify and confirm. And so in a dialogue, when you're using active listening, you're not just receiving you're actually part of the processing. And so that's good under a lot of circumstances if dialogue is the intention. If the intention is to be in a sacred circle for true storytelling and deep listening, it's not that. It is to use the preparation time to turn your ear inside to listen to the true story inside you that wants to be told, to get through all the noise of whatever it is, and then find and then just listen to your own story so that you can tell it as best you can as part of that chain of action. So your own true storytelling starts with deep listening and to your own story to see what's there, to explore that space. And then the intention of coming to the circle with that story and your bowl is empty is also an intention to have a space for the other true stories to come to. And it acts like these giant parabolic mirrors that are making these connections. And so the sketch in the background was my representation of what it feels like to me in a true story circle that's special, was that we've emptied our bowls. We have true stories prepared to tell and to tell. And the quality of those connections are profound. And the energy of the true stories are going around and are being amplified and stored by all of those carefully prepared empty bowls. And when we do that, it creates it completes a circuit, a sacred circuit, whereby we get this acceleration of truth just zooming around. And in the middle, you see that little S prime. To me, when the circuit is completed and true storytellers are together, there is another larger entity that is formed for as long as our intention is true, and that is the collective awareness of that circle, which I think is an extra participant. That's the kind of the universe's presence in there, which is what helps make all the connections between the individuals in the circuit. And it is our intentions, like Caesar's intention to be unique and to fight and win and to find a way, that diamond unbreakable spirit of his, to be true to that and go all in and be committed. In the same way that crystals are so strong and allow us to magnify light and to break light into pieces and to explore that, something about that, the Diamond Sutra talks a little bit about that irreducible core of who you are that's unique and precious in the world, that acts to amplify your intentions and to amplify the intentions and stories of others. And so we become these processing nodes in this network of sacred connectivity that leads to action, built on this foundation of safety, trust, truth, and then that leads to the opportunities that we inevitably see when good people come together and exchange their stories. So it's deep listening when you turn off the rebounds or whatever and are just fully committed to absorbing all of the story as it's coming in. Deep listening, to let it really settle. And then sacred listening, to me, is when you're doing that and your intention is aligned with all of the values that we just talked about, so that the people may thrive. So, I mean, I can imagine people could do deep listening, but without an intention of doing good. It would be kind of evil and malicious to do that. So deep listening, to me, leads to sacred listening if you have that intention of selflessness and service to others and unconditional love and no judgment of other people, but simply to be part of that circle of truth. So that it looks like a little cyclotron there in the middle. The idea of that sacred story S prime in the middle is the idea that we have memory and that the waves of what we've generated endures. And it's kind of what draws us back into that sacred space, because you know what it's like, and so you bring that memory and it reinforces. And so that thing takes on a character and a quality like it's an active participant just by being there and acknowledging the community of practice. So it's not just 6 random molecules that have come together, but there's molecules with memories and that are kind of committed to these principles. So to me, this week's insight, this week's story was this idea, this sudden snap realization that that's really what's going on in there. That the true storytelling rests on a foundation of true listening, starting with yourself and the universe speaking through you about those stories that it has witnessed and is reminding you of and being a witness to, and remembering those truths as they occurred in all their factualness, pretty or not. But that's sort of that relationship you have with the universe, is that truth comes through and say, oh yeah, true memory. And then listening to what that's like, and then being able to trust enough to share that truth, which is received and then resonates with other people. And so the universe kind of knows that, Hey, I remember this story, and I hear you telling that true story. There's a positive reinforcement from the universe to you, acknowledging that, yeah, you are sitting in the truth, because it knows and you know. And then being comfortable with that and learning how to tap into that, and realizing that that's where great spirit lives and helps constitute these communities of practice that we're experiencing, enjoying, and living for. And it comes back to me to intention. What is the intention of that? How does that energy being used with outward action and inner healing? So the gratitude and forgiveness that Betty talked about, and the light that shines, and the ability to just relax a little bit and say it'll be okay. We're just sorting things out and just being aware and grateful for the experiences that we can share with others. So I'm constantly grateful for the gift of truth that you guys give, and the energy and confidence it gives me to explore inner spaces and uncover things that matter and have a chance to talk about them a little bit. So that's my story from this week. The importance and context and process of deep listening, sacred listening inside the True Story Circle. So thanks so much. With much love. Aho.